Hello, good afternoon.
Howdy.
Howdy, how are you?
Oh, the usual.
Good, me too. Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. Expired Milk is here with me because she's not working today. Is that right?
Well, I don't have a show today.
Oh, so you got, yeah, okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. I am off work today because it's a holiday here.
It's a holiday here too.
Yeah, except for poor Existential Gamer doesn't get it off, which I thought was ridiculous because she's a veteran.
Wah!
I don't know.
I saw some videos today from I think the UK where they were like, "This is our like ritual thing because this was the time of the armistice of World
Uh-huh.
War One." And I was like, "Oh, is that why this is Veterans Day? Like for everyone? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?"
here it's the same as the UK. We call it Remembrance Day, but it's like the same. It's the celebration of the armistice.
See, I did not know that.
Hmm. um, yeah, so today I wanted to actually let me back up briefly. I have wanted to on my channel do like the normal streams where we like look at an article or do something funny or whatever, but I also want to do streams where we look at a feminist piece of writing. And so today is the first one of that idea. I wanted to look at a piece of feminist writing, and I thought that a separatist feminist would be apt, considering like there's a whole 4B explosion happening on the internet right now. Hello, I'm just saying hi to people in the chat. Sunny, Lee, Cassandra, Win, Olga, hello. Existential Gamer, hi. Scarecrow, nice to see you all. So yeah, I wanted to talk briefly just about who this essay is by. Her name is Sonia Johnson. She is an American feminist and writer. She's still alive. She was very outspoken about the Equal Rights Amendment. She was born and raised in the Mormon faith, fifth generation, and she was very critical about their opposition to the ERA, which ultimately led to her being excommunicated from the church because she was critical of the faith structure. She was like wildly supportive of the ERA. She spoke all around the United States on TV. She went to jail for chaining herself to a temple. She ran a hunger strike. And she also ran for president in 1982 with the U.S. Citizens Party, which is kind of cool. And then, yeah, she was married and had children and everything, but divorced her husband and became a total separatist, including running a female separatist hotel in New Mexico until she retired, which is pretty cool.
Very admirable.
And then, yeah, there's this one quote from her I wanted to share before we dive into her little essay here. So she wrote, "I have heard women involved in male politics say about our political system almost the same words I have heard battered women use about their abusers. Of course, our government is imperfect, but where is there a better one? With all its faults, it is still the best system/husband in the world. Like a battered wife, they never think to ask the really relevant questions. Who said we needed a husband or a husband state at all?" I love that. Yeah, she is, yeah, an inspiration. She is still living and promoting separatism, which is pretty cool. I think she was born in 1936. So yeah, very cool. But yeah, let's dive into the essay. So I'm going to share my screen here. And let's see. Okay. How is this for size? Does it look okay on screen to everyone?
Looks good to me.
Okay. Please chime in whenever you want, Expired Milk. But yeah, let's dive in here. Okay, So she wrote this essay in 1990. It's called Taking Our Eyes Off the Guys. She wrote, all of us, all women in patriarchy, are seasoned to be slaves, are seasoned to be prostitutes. All of us, in some sense, are or have been prostitutes and slaves, and most of us will continue to be for the rest of our lives. And it is the essence, the very nature of seasoning, to blind us to our condition as well as to the mechanics of our enslavement. So she uses seasoning like we might use socialization or conditioned, I suppose. Those of us, however, who grew up in and were seasoned in traditional fundamentalist Judeo-Christian environments got a closer look at the mechanics of that seasoning process than others. And although we're sometimes matronized in the movement, the assumption being that if we could ever have believed that preposterous, dangerous nonsense, we can never again be trusted to be clear. The truth is that we can probably be trusted more to have kept the vision of feminism clear once we had seen it than those of you who grew up as Unitarians or Quakers or even Methodists and Presbyterians, because, you see, we saw patriarchy naked before us all the time, all around us, all day long, every day. So I think she is speaking particularly from having grown up in the LDS Mormon faith, which is particularly patriarchal. Not that all Abrahamic religions aren't, but there's a particular structure to the LDS faith that is super, super patriarchal. Sorry, I have a little bit of a tickle in my throat. 1 second, I need to cough.
Elevator music, elevator music, elevator music.
Thank you for the music. Yeah, the egalitarian trap, indeed. So she writes, and what we knew, what we realized as soon as we were able to see what we were seeing and to reject it, wrench it out of our souls and throw it all away, what we were left with was the understanding of the patriarchal family as the model for all oppression. The patriarchal family with the man on top as God and the woman and children as worm under him, and far too often very literally under him. We understood then that the paradigm, that power over paradigm, that sadomasochistic paradigm which is patriarchy, extends to everything, that it is the model of all social institutions, for all economic structures, for international politics. It's white on top in male position as God, people of color underneath in woman position as worm. Let's see, Existential Gamer says, I didn't grow up with religion at all, and a bad thing about that is that it took me a really long time to see misogyny as a young woman. I grew up raised Catholic, and I went to Catholic school and everything. And I think I didn't really see misogyny. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, we are the fish in the water that is misogyny. It's hard to see sometimes until you really take a look at it. Yeah, I was definitely clouded by my religious upbringing, I think. I grew up with a religion and saw misogyny everywhere, even as a kid. Good for you, Win. That's awesome.
Yeah, I grew up with religion as well. In my particular situation, it was kind of interesting because church is the only time I would have interactions with men.
Right.
So that, I guess I still noticed, yes, there's this way this religion is structured that doesn't necessarily carry over to these other parts of my life, but I didn't really pay much mind to it because it was only one day a week.
Yeah. That's definitely different. I was in Catholic school. My parents didn't really like take us to church all that much. I mean, we would maybe go, if not once a month, like once every 5 or 6 weeks, but we went to Catholic school, so, you know, we got it every day. Enlightened Female says, even when you grow up with religion, you are hit with the normie misogyny present in daily life, regardless of if you are a believer still or not. Good point. Okay, Sonia writes, it's the rich as male on top, the poor as female on the bottom. It's humans on top, all other living things on the bottom. It's large on top, small on the bottom. Large countries as male, small countries as female, and so on. Now, where we learn that this is natural and normal is in the family. All of us had one of those, and some of them, I say, were more blatantly patriarchal than others. Some of us got a really thoroughgoing education, and as was said in my introduction, I got one of the best there ever was. I'm grateful to the Mormon elders for a truly matchless education in patriarchal ontology. I can't be fooled again, and neither can you graduated Catholics or any of others of you who are true believers in any religion. When I say that all women have been seasoned as slaves and prostitutes, I'm talking about seasoning that began at home. All other societal institutions avidly participated in it, of course. But no matter how we're seasoned, as prostitute or as wife, which is the same thing, we're seasoned in the patriarchal family almost exclusively to serve sexual functions. No matter what form seasoning takes, it always has the same goal: to make us feel worthless and dependent. Obviously, incest is a seasoning tool par excellence. One incident of incest is really all that is necessary to teach us our role in patriarchy. It is such a profound betrayal of trust, primarily of our trust in ourselves. It is designed to make us feel powerless, to shatter our inner core of confidence, and therefore to make us feel utterly dependent on men. It functions to make us believe passionately that we need a savior, that men must save us, that we have to go through them to be saved, that somehow we've got to get them to change their minds about us. We've got to make them agree that their behavior is terrible and get them to stop it. Our seasoning teaches us nonsense, that we've got to get the slaveholders to free the slaves. Any thoughts, expired milk?
Yeah, that kind of hits on something that I often run into discussions with other women. I've always been pretty put off by this idea of negotiating with men, though I tend to call it negotiating with terrorists. I say I don't negotiate with terrorists because, I know people usually get bogged down into the semantics of like, oh, is it natural or is it socialized? I never really cared much about that difference. It's just kind of, no matter what it is, this is the situation.
Yes, excellent.
And I go in personally expecting nothing from that half of the population, and I kind of focus on going ahead and moving on without them, and whatever the consequences of that are, it's like, fine, let's roll with it. But I don't want to start off already compromising myself by believing, by trying to create this hierarchy of men from good to bad and who we can let into our spaces and who we can't and which concessions we can make. I just think that destroys what you're trying to do from the beginning and is a waste of time and resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, she writes, that's the goal of seasoning, to make us believe that we must always go through someone else to be free. Of course, the reason we're taught this is because freedom never happens that way. Tyrants never free the slaves. It's an historical truth that the oppressed must always rise and free themselves, and in freeing themselves, free everyone. The truth is that radical change at the root, must be made by us. Hence radical feminism.
Woot woot.
There are many reasons for our being in the only position, historically speaking, to change things. One of these is the basic paradox of tyranny, that the oppressors are always less free than the oppressed. Another is that, as women, we are truly outside men's systems. Virginia Woolf said that, She said in 3 Guineas that women are the society of the outsiders, and that's where we have our power. We have power, meaning the ability to act, to effect change, outside the system, because that's where we truly live, politically, psychically, yeah. It is therefore the only place where we are authentic, and we can only have power where we are authentic. We also have power there because being outside and being slaves means being flexible. Slaves have to be almost preternaturally flexible in order to survive. And one of the most important laws of cybernetics is that the most flexible element in any system is the controlling element. Privileges are chains. Men are bound by their privilege, have no flexibility, cannot change their systems even if they wished, don't wish. Being the most flexible elements in this system, women are now in control of the planet. Our behavior, not the men's, will determine the course of human events. But conditioned, seasoned as we are, this is the most difficult possible conception for us, and most of us continue to believe that we must make men change their ways, that we are dependent upon legislators to pass laws, for instance. Good grief! When have those in control ever given up a significant amount of it to those they control? Can you think of a single time in history? Good point. This is written in 1990, so it's like a little frustrating that this is still so relevant 34 years later.
Exactly. I always say it feels like every single generation, the women in it spend their entire lives trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like, no, we've figured this out centuries and centuries and centuries ago, and yet we're still here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, nothing has changed. Ugh. Well, as she says, it has never happened and it's not going to happen. We should have learned that with the Equal Rights Amendment. If we didn't learn it then, what is it going to take to teach it to us? Our not learning it is part of our seasoning, our profound conditioning. We're deeply dependent, deeply servile in ways that our surface militance camouflages. That is the main goal of seasoning. To make us believe that men must change the world for us and that we're powerless to change reality unless the men change first. But the truth is that they're not going to change, can't change, so we don't have to waste our time trying to get them to anymore. We are the ones who must change because we can. And when we change, everything outside us will have to change to accommodate our new way of being in the world, including men, but that's besides the point. I really love this. I have spoken at length about this kind of a concept before that, like, I think I even have a video titled Women Must Be the Change, because we know men aren't going to change. Women have been trying for like 10,000 years to tame men. It hasn't happened yet. It's not going to happen. The only thing that I think, I mean, maybe this is pessimistic, I don't know. The only thing I think that women can do is, yeah, change ourselves, change our lives, change the way we interact with men in the world.
Yeah, and I love how she frames it as this flexible versus inflexible dynamic. I know these days it's popular to say, oh, well, you know, feminism will help the men too because they're not allowed to cry and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And say, no, you're missing the point here. And I think I just really like the way she explained it.
Me too. Me too. Let's see. I resent the onus always being on women. Shame on their mothers. How about no? Yeah, agreed. This is something not really super related, but I have seen like on social media and stuff, and like on dating apps and whatnot, when men are inappropriate to women in their DMs or whatever, or send them unsolicited pictures and that kind of thing. I've seen women say what they do then is they find them on Facebook and then find their mothers and send screenshots to their mothers. And I personally hate that because I feel like it's like, and they'll say something like, look at what your son is doing. And it's like, it's not her fault. He's a grown-ass man. Why are you making her responsible or aware for like his bad behavior? He's the one that needs to check himself. Don't put it on her. I hate that shit. Yeah, I've seen that a few times. And yeah, and like Existential Gamer is saying, like, shame on their mothers. No, like these men are responsible for themselves. It's nothing to do with the women who raised them.
Yep. Because no matter what you try to do, they're always like, you know, raise your sons this way, do this the other way. If we could impact male behavior, it would have happened by now.
Exactly. 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 So the principle underlying all seasoning, how you get this effect, how you reach this goal of getting women to believe that our salvation depends on someone else's behavior, is that you get someone to do everything in relation to someone else who they perceive as more powerful. You get them always to consult an image of someone else in their minds, to say to themselves, to say to ourselves as women, for instance, now, how will the men respond to that? Every time we make a decision, or if we do this, what will they do? Always to be relational, to consult the masters in our psyches every time. This is bondage. Right. You should not be considering what men think or feel or want.
And it also reveals what a lot of women, I think all women know deep down what the situation is, but they try to soften it to make, I don't know, the situation more optimistic. I know the most common thing you run into, particularly these days when people are talking about 4B and a sex strike, whenever that comes out, it's like, but if we don't do this, if we don't quote unquote willingly offer ourselves up, then they will resort to violence. They will make us do these things. And so if that's the first thing you think of, then maybe the two of us aren't so different in our way of thinking at all. It's just the difference in the way we're stating the reality of the situation.
Good point. When women make our internal states, our well-being contingent upon men's behavior that we can neither control nor change, we give up all chance for independence and freedom. Our freedom must depend exclusively on us. We are the only ones we can change and control. We must understand and internalize the fact that men are totally irrelevant now as far as change is concerned. So we can take our eyes off them and look at ourselves to make a shining new reality right here, right now, in the midst of the old, putrescent, collapsing world of the fathers. As long as we're focused on the men, we're never going to see that door to our jail cell is open, that it's not that it's open not into patriarchy, but into our own power. As long as we're concentrating on the men doing everything with our pimps in mind, we're never going to break free. Our pimps are the men around us. They're the legislators, professors, ministers. None of you still has ministers or priests, I trust. Our pimps are our fathers, our husbands, our sons. To be everything in relation to them is slavery. I learned this as a prostitute in training in Mormondom, in a Mormon home as well as the church, and in the Democratic Party, and in liberal and progressive and leftist groups, and in the National Organization for Women, which is modeled also on the patriarchal family. I learned these things in the same place you learned them. We have all learned them the hard way. When I escaped from Mormonism, I looked out and saw that all churches were the Mormon church. I looked out further and saw that the whole world was the Mormon church. Over the years, as I kept looking, I saw that Congress and the legislatures and the political parties and Mother Jones and National Public Radio were all also the Mormon church. You know, nothing new considered, the same old stuff considered. I saw that they were all the old boys club. Exactly. Go, Sonia.
I love how she also used the term like our cell doors, they're open. Like we have actual power. We don't need to be ember. We have it. You just need to get up and take action.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, women must be the change.
Ooh, no notes. 1990.
Yes, 1990. I decided I wasn't going to escape from one brothel just to get myself trapped in another, that something was basically wrong with thinking that any of these institutions was the new world. So it seemed to me that it was time for me to take my eyes off the guys, to get rid of the superstitious belief that if I didn't monitor every single thing they did, if I didn't clutch at them and beg them and plead them and lobby them and kick and scream and stamp my foot and demand, they would go berserk and kill us all. But this is nonsense, of course, because all evidence shows that men have gone berserk anyway. With our eyes fastened unblinkingly on their faces day and night for thousands of years, they have grown increasingly mad. With our attention riveted upon them, they are killing us and the world around us daily. The evidence is that with our reactive, fearful, dependent behavior, we have been facilitating patriarchy in all its manifestations throughout its history. We have been seasoned to do this, to keep our eyes on our patriarchs, our pimps, so we won't look at ourselves and see the stunning alternatives. Oh my God. Yes.
Snaps.
I know. I love her. I saw that since it hadn't gotten us anywhere, it was time to stop doing that. We don't have 1,000 years to get enough women in our legislators and our Congress, and even if we did, they would all be female impersonators by the time they got there anyway. We don't have time. We've only got maybe 10 years.
Ah!
I know. Oh, God. We've only got maybe 10 years. That means we've got to learn from history that resistance to and cooperation with the oppressor don't work. All the ways we've tried to change things didn't work. They didn't work. Hierarchical structures don't work. They are all copies of the patriarchal family, a paradigm that has failed us utterly. So I've decided it's time for me to refuse that seasoning. It's time to deprogram myself and to stop concentrating at all times upon the masters, upon the pimps of the world. Stop doing all I do in relation to them, in reference to them, in reaction to them. Stop making my feelings of well being contingent on their behavior. Stop thinking about them. They are so boring, so numbingly boring. I love her. We can predict everything they will do, every savage, gruesome, gross, crass thing they're going to do. We know it all by heart. We don't need to watch it anymore, do we? Do you? I certainly don't. I've seen plenty of it, and I know it inside and out. It seems to me that what I have to do is what my deep conditioning tells me not to do the thing that scares me most of all, to do what I've been taught never to do or I would die. And that is to take my eyes off the guys and to take myself seriously. To stop enabling men's system, patriarchy, to stop believing that they are going to change the world, that I ever have to try to get them to do anything redemptive again. They will not. Could not if they would, and to come to grips with the truth that if I want the world another way, I must make it that way myself. The most important message my wise old woman within has ever given me is that the transformation of this world is up to me and you. What a relief. Thank goodness it's up to the women, because now it will get done.
Tattoo this whole essay on my body.
Literally. Yes, go Sonia Johnson. Yeah, I thought this was a great essay to discuss today because the talk about 4B and stuff has been popping off on social media since the election results. And she's a living, breathing separatist who really did do it.
In a time period when it was even more rare to do it. And
yeah. Yeah. Have you been hearing any kind of like 4B talk and stuff lately since the election?
Yeah, well, I was surprised because of all the political stuff going on. In my busy schedule, I just hop onto CNN.com to see what the headlines are. And I was surprised on their homepage, featured for multiple days in a row, was this 4B article. So that's when I first noticed people were talking about it. And then inevitably it was trending on Twitter, and we were going the same song and dance of women saying, "Oh, this is the last straw. Now I have been disrespected enough to finally start to think about maybe changing what I'm doing." And I guess I'd be more inspired by it if it hadn't happened so many times before. Kind of like what was said in this essay. I think when it comes to our relationships with men, whether they be, romantic or otherwise, I think we're conditioned to accept some amount of disrespect, some amount of dehumanization and subjugation. And it's only once you pass whatever that threshold is that you start to have these thoughts. At the same time, I think the goalpost of that threshold slowly adjusts, because when a 1,000 atrocities are happening all at once, it's kind of hard to focus, and then all of a sudden you're putting up with things you never thought you would, and because it happened slowly over the course of your entire life. And yeah, not sure if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely it does. Like what's that quote? You can't see the forest for the trees or whatever. Same thing. Misogyny is the water we swim in.
And especially if you are a modern day American woman, you have so much agency and so much ability to chart your own path, to do what you want to do, to
Yeah.
shape your life in ways that were literally not possible
Mhm.
a few decades ago. And it's a little bit frustrating when people are so reluctant to just do it. It's like you're drowning yourself in a puddle. Stand up.
Yeah, I agree. Like I talk about this so much that like when I talk about separatism and the fact that we can do this, it's like it's specifically about like quote unquote privileged Western women who like we literally can. Like no one is there's no Taliban forcing us to be inside our homes here, right? Like we do have the privilege and therefore I think the duty to live separatist lives, to walk what we talk, to be examples to other women.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, men, even in my life, sure, men can serve as obstacles in certain situations,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems kind of minor in the grand scope of my life. It's mostly has hinged upon me just being confident in myself and my knowledge and my abilities. And I think that's what is good to focus on.
Yeah.
And it's what I kind of emphasize to younger women who reach out to me about, life advice and career advice and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of the comments in here. Green Emerald asks, do you think 4B will actually catch on among American women right now, or they'll be mostly like a talk or a trend? Ugh. I mean, yes, it's blown up on social media and there's lots of women like talking about it, but I am also seeing a lot of the usual suspects, right? Like oh, I couldn't possibly, oh, my Nigel. And also, unfortunately, among a lot of Western American women, I'm seeing a lot of like, reminder 4B is transphobic and it's only about cis women and we can't have that because it's transphobic. So, like, I don't have a lot of hope. How
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a trend. I do think it's interesting people are so focused on the 4B. It's kind of like a trendy rebrand of something that's been around for a while. Like even
Right.
like how many times have feminists in particular even hinted, oh, let's do a sex strike and blah blah. This is old news. This is old ideas. But for some reason, and I think maybe it's good that maybe with this rebrand, more women who maybe would have reacted super negatively to honestly celibacy, we're talking about celibacy here, might have been reacting negatively to that before, might be more open to it now. Ultimately, I think in the next 6 to 8 weeks, everything will simmer down. It'll simmer back up again for the inauguration, but then this will be the new normal, and you are now seasoned and adjusted to the new
There you go.
things. Ultimately, even if your Nigel voted for Trump last week, is he inherently different from how he was 2 weeks ago, a month ago, a year ago?
No.
He hasn't changed.
Right.
All the men around you have not changed. They are shockingly consistent, actually, and totally unsurprising at every turn.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Let's see here. Sunny says, I'm kind of scared that the 4B is either going to be watered down to a few months sex strike or all the male hatred is going to flood all women as a strike back and crimes against us will increase. Yeah, maybe.
definitely. Yeah. And also, I think people are coming at the 4B as if we do this,
Then,
it will
right.
change the men. I'm like,
If
no,
X, then Y.
yeah, that's not what you should be thinking. It's like men
No.
are men and they will continue to be men, but
Right.
you can choose to do something else. You can choose to focus on other things, to center different things in your life. I think that should be the focus. But again, just like with the whole sex strike talk of old, it's like, if I withhold this only thing you value from me, sex, then maybe you'll treat me with a modicum of respect. No, that's not
No.
how this works.
Right. This kind of feeds into Cassandra's comment. I'm curious how many women are serious about not dating, marrying, or having sex for 4 years at least. And that's just the thing is like you were saying, expired milk, like it's not, you can't be, if you're thinking about 4B or separatism or whatever, it can't be with the lens of if X, then Y. It has to be with a focus on like your own self, what's going to be good for you, for your life, what's going to keep you safe, keep you happy, what's not going to siphon all of your energy and resources. It should be looking within, not externally, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would love, even if it becomes less trendy online, for the 4B conversation to actually focus more on women. I know women like to get together, complain about men, talk about all these terrible things that have happened, and okay, do that. However, after you're done with that, focus on women, kind of celebrate and place value into your relationships and communities you build with other women. Because as long as this is all just based on what so-and-so did to you or treated you in this certain situation, I think the focus is still going to be on men. But you need to shift it to women. Think about what you're building with women, your future with women, and all that sort of thing.
This is a good one. If you believe it is wrong for women to distance from men, then you must believe that women owe men dating, marriage, sex, etc. It's so blatantly ignoring women's boundaries. Yes. Yes, Plum Plummy, I do have a link to the essay. I should have put it in this description box. I'm sorry I didn't, but I will at the end of this. So when this is over, you can refresh and the link will be there. I guess I could just also put it in the chat. Jeez, what am I doing?
Technology.
But I will also put it in the description box at the end of this. Okay. Let's see. There's lots of comments in the chat that I want to just not miss. I've already seen people watering it down to don't date men who don't respect you or don't have unsafe sex instead of, not dating or having sex with men at all. Yeah, see, people are watering down the 4B to like FDS, female dating strategy, right? Different things.
Yeah, once again, creating a hierarchy of men and finding out where your line of stand is on that spectrum. It's like, no, stop wasting your time on that. Just stop. Snap out of it. Jesus.
Let's see. Women cannot stop having relationships with men equals you must have a relationship with a man, which is rape culture in my eyes. Cannot believe how many women are okay reiterating that we cannot do this. Good point.
Yeah. And I think that it taps into, because we are such a male-oriented global culture, women, I think, genuinely also have a difficult time seeing themselves as full people. That's because also in that global male culture, women are not people. And so it hurts when you see that being passed on to everyone in the room.
Not super hopeful it will work in the US, but the results in South Korea are very impressive. Yeah, lowest birth rate in the world. Damn.
And I also think it's important to remember, even in South Korea, it's a small, it's not as far-reaching as one would think. The birth rates in South Korea are dropping is due to a multitude of factors. The reality,
not necessarily for
I see most women, they're still wanting to be with men. They want to have these families with men, but the structure is not there for them to accomplish that. At the same time, I also think even in the US, it doesn't really take the majority of women to start speaking like this, or even a significant minority of women to speak like this, because the whole concept of breaking off from men, of not centering them in your lives and focusing on relationships and building things with women is so threatening to the overall regime, right? That it's always immediately targeted and focused on, saying, oh no, look at these witches. They're doing things they're not supposed to do. It is threatening their way of life. And it's like 20 women in the woods minding their own business. It's like, why are you so threatened by this small thing?
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because it reminds me too of like comments I've received when I have been like on my channel an outspoken radical feminist. And when I say radical feminist, I do mean to the root, but I also do mean extreme. And I've gotten comments like how mean and evil and terrible it is. And it's like, I am playing by myself in my treehouse with a couple of the women who also want to be in the treehouse. If you don't want to, you don't have to be here, but leave the rest of us alone.
Yep.
Gosh.
And because it so quickly become, again, in South Korea, they've kind of pinpointed 4B as this epicenter of a national emergency.
Right.
When if you consider, it's like, yeah, maybe the core of that, there's like, maybe 5% 4B-ness. The rest of it is just the social situation being so horrible that babies aren't being born, the supply lines have stopped, and now you realize you're in quite a pickle.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the essay of how we do have the majority of the power and we ultimately decide the direction things will go.
Yes. I love this comment. Thank you, Lisa, very much. That's very kind. I believe calling it sex strike also reinforces the idea that sex is a form of labor that women have to provide for men or that men are entitled to. I think that is such a great reframing of the term.
Mm-hmm.
That is, yeah. I didn't ever really think of it that way, but I love that.
Yeah, don't forget that certain men out there are trying to frame intercourse with women specifically as healthcare and how we should legalize prostitution to cater to these men who don't think they're getting as much sex as they deserve to be having by right of being men.
God, yeah. No matter how small women's enclave, men are always compelled to invade. I believe the impulse for men to invade all female spaces is innate. Hello, Lucy. Welcome. Very nice to see a new name and face, icon, avatar, whatever. I was told by my coworker it was harmful to women with cancer because some 4B women have been shaving their heads in the name of deterring men. The beauty standards men have are not 4B. What?
Get out of here.
Oh my God. Oh, great point. Existential gamer. As if when we get better terms, we will resume services. Right. Oh, great comment.
Which is why I'm like, hey, deep down, we all know what the deal is. It's just some people are more willing to admit it in plainer terms than others.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I think every woman should shave her head at least once in her life. I really do. It's the best. I did it when I was 17, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a shaved head? Like bald shaved?
Bald shaved? Never bald. But I do have quite short hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had full on like shaving cream and a razor. Like,
yeah, I get what's a size 2 guard.
Yeah.
Typical buzz.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I didn't see a comment, Lee. It must have got zooked. If people can't cope with buzz cut women, we're doomed. Interesting. 4B won't survive here much beyond the already small radical feminist community because American activism sucks. It's so watered down compared to the rest of the world. Any thoughts on why that is, Expired Milk?
I really don't know. I mean, just the whole essence of America, like your stereotypical America, what the values are,
the individualistic,
individual, what we view as powerful.
Yeah,
it's just so counter to any inkling of ever thinking about any of this ever. Where, yeah, I just think we're not gonna get there. We just like to Little House on the Prairie it up.
Little House on the Prairie.
Yeehaw.
Yeah. Plummy shaved her head 3 years ago. Joan did at 19. Isn't America very community focused too? Almost culty like, to be honest. Feel free to expand on that. Community focused. Almost culty like. I don't know. I'm not American, so.
I mean, maybe they're talking about, well, I don't know if this is specifically American, but church communities, sports communities,
Sure.
the concept of the neighborhood. But even then, I think that would carry to a lot of other places.
Mm-hmm. Cassandra, I think the US is too big. Maybe statewide would be easier.
Well, depending on where you are in the US, it can sometimes feel like a completely different place. If you're in the city versus, the countryside,
Yeah.
a coastal state versus a flyover state. And it's kind of sometimes amusing how much people who only spend time in one place perceive the rest of the country. I know
Right.
my mom in particular is pretty floored by the extent to which Trump won the election. When I was telling her leading up to it, I said, hey, it's probably not going to look good. He said, but no, but all this stuff is happening and everyone thinks this. I said, no. If you just go outside the city for 5 minutes, I can't tell you why they think the way they do, but I am telling you that this is the situation.
Yeah. There was, maybe there wasn't a comment. I was going to say something, but it has totally escaped my mind now. I don't know. It's gone. Capitalism plays a big part. Americans don't like to think of themselves as disadvantaged because that ruins the capitalist dream. You're not oppressed, just gotta try harder and you'll make it. Right. Yeah. What's that? I've heard
bootstraps.
Poor American people just think of themselves as temporarily inconvenienced millionaires.
That's a good one.
I've noticed that many Americans view activism as throwing one group under the bus so another group can thrive rather than the path to liberation. This reminds me of kind of what I was going to say. Now, one of the difficulties I have faced a lot living in Canada when it comes to collectivizing, uniting with other women is the distance. People don't know how vastly empty Canada is. And so that's been like a really big problem for me. Like I don't know another radical feminist within 6 to 8 hours driving distance from me. The only time I was able to really like connect with radical feminist community in real life, I traveled to a different province. I traveled to the West Coast, and it was awesome, but like it's not feasible or sustainable, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the one, temporarily embarrassed millionaires. And yeah, population density plays a role in mobilization and gaining momentum. Like it's yeah. And because we're talking kind of specifically about America here, like America is a huge country as well. And finding each other is kind of where it's hard. Yeah.
But yeah, American, I'm not the most, politically savvy person in the world. But again, the general motif and theme of America, even through the past kind of 20-ish years of liberal and democratic dominance, I think the underlying mission statement of the country and the attitudes that stem from that have always bubbled to the top. Here it's bubbling to the top in the form of a conservative swing that's probably going to last the next 15 to 30 years, if we're honest.
Yeah. That's nice. Thankfully, there's live streaming. Yeah, I mean, at least we have that.
Yep.
Can connect here.
Connect with people all over the world with a simple Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah. This is a good point as well. Americans are very complacent. We're plied with pharma and dopamine. We're paycheck to paycheck with no work rights, and no one wants to disrupt their lives. I mean, yeah, it's hard out here in the economy that I know is plaguing both the United States and Canada. It's a struggle. I can understand that it's hard to want to be radical, I suppose, when you're not sure, you know, if you lose your job, you're going to lose your house kind of thing. Like, yeah, I get it. Same here, Jess. Australia is the same, especially with how far major cities are from each other. That's exactly the problem here in Canada as well. Like, people don't understand how far our big cities are apart. Hours and hours and even days of driving. So I know Australians can relate to that. Like, it's not so easy just to go to the next city over when it's 8 hours drive away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Ooh, a Hungarian. My family is Hungarian. I mean, down the line.
I was about to say, I wonder how political trends in places like the US or Canada differ from, I guess, Western Europe, because all I hear about Western Europe is, oh, yeah, you can hop on a train and visit 4 countries in a day.
Right, exactly. You could walk to another country in some parts of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a huge reason why, say, the UK, Turf Island, has been so successful in like making actual changes to like gender and trans laws and stuff, because they are such a physically small landmass that they can all unite and work together. The entire UK is smaller than the singular province I live in as far as like size, landmass.
They're all close together, whereas over here, it's like, this is kind of a whack situation, and I'm just gonna do whatever I'm gonna do and hope for the best. And it's like, if I run into other women who think the same, great. But even then, it's all kind of small scale stuff compared to what they've got going on in the UK, I think.
Mm-hmm. A small land allows for women from all over it to travel to the same protests for sure. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's more coming. Yeah. What I don't know. For some reason I cannot remember what I was going to say again.
Oh no. You've been hacked.
Yeah, as we know, I've been replaced with AI. Ooh, Joan, much as the right-wing drift is creating schisms, yeah. About the US conservative swing, I think it's more so a Trump swing with conservatives following along for the grift. There were smaller blue waves in 6 out of 7 swing states, and Trump won those. I think Canada is somewhat in a conservative swing. We do have a liberal government right now. The prime minister is of the Liberal Party. But more and more I am seeing people complaining about the woke left, much as they, the same conversations that are happening in the United States. And we have a guy who runs our conservative party, Pierre Poilievre, who makes me nervous. And I'm sometimes fearful that he might get elected when we have our next election. We've had 3 terms of Prime Minister Trudeau and the Liberals. I don't know how much longer that can last, unfortunately.
I feel like in a lot of countries, the conservative parties have been getting momentum.
Yeah.
It seems to be this general trend of, I don't know, globalization versus anti-globalization, nationalism, or isolation, whatever the opposite of that is.
And
that's what's,
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, like other countries too, having more elected officials who are much more conservative. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, and while all those concepts for me as a normal individual just paying rent. That always seems kind of very big and out of my control. But then when you talk about stuff like 4B, people are talking like 4B is some like super extreme thing you can do.
Yeah, this global super movement.
But it's really not. You just need to like stop being foolish. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really not that difficult.
Yeah. You don't
Prioritize yourself.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
That's right. Yes, you don't have to do anything. That's right. You have to do a lot of things to like live in a male-centric world and life.
Yeah.
You could just not do those things.
It involves nothing but yourself.
Yeah. Lots of talk in the chat about not knowing any rad femmes in their area. From none in the Netherlands. I saw a Romanian one as well. Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks for the internet, at least. We can connect with women who think like we do. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Yeah, the rise of the far right wing is very global indeed. In Europe, it's been rising steadily for at least a decade. I have definitely seen a lot of talk about that, the far right, particularly when it comes to France, I think. Seeing a lot of talk about the rise of the far right there. And Germany, I think, as well, which need I say more?
Alas.
Okay, what is this about, Joan? I saw some stupid AI image getting spread of a shaved head women in blue bracelets. Made 4B type women look cultish in a mad way. I saw something on Twitter early today about shaved heads and blue bracelets.
Huh?
I know. I saw something on Twitter about that today. What? Feel free to expand.
I don't know what that's about, but there's always been this association between women plus shaved head equals crazy, which I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm, Black. It's not really uncommon for a Black woman to have short hair globally. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe people are thinking of Britney Spears.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm so confused. Okay, I found the tweet that I saw earlier. So some crazy person, I'm just not going to shout out their at because, oh my God, she tweeted, "When I see liberal women out in public, I'm going to follow them while I open carry. Then, when they get to their cars, I'm going to tase them. And while they're on the ground crying, I'm going to get out an indelible marker and write Trump won on their fucking faces."
Huh?
And this is a woman, by the way. Okay, but then somebody replied saying, "So you're going to stalk, harass, and assault women you think are liberal?" And then another person replied to that saying, "You think women shaving their heads and making blue bracelets is a meltdown? Repubs, what the fuck do you call this then?" What is the blue bracelets and shaved heads thing? What the heck?
Who knows? Maybe I've got to go on TikTok and find out.
Right? Now I'm searching blue bracelet.
I mean, I do like the color blue.
Okay, apparently there's a whole segment of Democrat women who are planning to wear blue bracelets for the next 4 years. I think this is an amazing idea so we can identify emotion. Oh, this is a conservative. Never mind.
Because blue is the Democratic Party color.
Lord. Anyway. Okay. The blue bracelet is meant to signify that the white women wearing it didn't vote for Trump. I see. Okay, I missed that somewhere along the line.
Yeah, me too.
My theory is that the right-wing wave is due to the pandemic and how algorithms picked up on that. A lot of mentally ill men see this content that validates their normie misogyny and make it extreme.
Well, I have heard that whatever the ruling party in any country was during the pandemic became widely unpopular and has lost their whatever the next challenge that arose was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the case here. Our liberal government is not that popular anymore.
Yeah, what Pump was saying there about shaving and 4B, yeah, that's how it's often signified in South Korea, to the extent that if you were just any woman and had hair that was considered too short, some crazy men would just attack you in public because, like, oh, that's how we identify who the feminists are.
Yeah, well, there was a story recently about a random woman with a shaved head attacked in South Korea.
Yeah.
Or short hair, not even a shaved head. She just had short
hair, yeah.
And she was attacked at a convenience store for being a feminist, of which she is not even identifying as one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I did just search the term blue blade, this is a tongue twister for me. Blue bracelets on Twitter. I saw a lot of tweets of men being like, "Oh yeah, wear the bracelet so we can identify you." Like, ugh, God, I hate them. Interesting. Something that gets missed a lot is that 14 million fewer people voted in 24 versus 2020. Even Trump got less votes. A lot of leftists stayed home. That's the problem, though. Like, you gotta vote, don't you?
Yeah, that's the part that disappointed my mom. So my mom, her first like big political activism stint was when Obama first ran. And so she was pretty active in local organizations during that time. And then as soon as Kamala was revealed to be the, nominee, she kind of went full.
Yeah, inherited the position.
She's been literally walking all over our city, knocking on people's doors, like going to churches, going to office buildings. Like her entire life was put on hold for this election. And I think she's just shocked, even more shocked by the results. She's like, but I talked to people. I was there. I was in it. And I didn't see this coming.
Yeah. I wanted to be hopeful, but I think deep down I wasn't. I just don't have enough faith in people to elect a woman, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because of this, I think it'll be a long time before Democrats pick a woman to nominate for a long time.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, 2 times in a row. Well, not in a row, but, you know, the 2 times that they did. Yeah, I don't know why people don't vote. They just give their fate to dummies who vote for felons. Yeah. Recently watched a vid somewhere on YouTube of Obama trying to convince Black men to vote for Kamala. Interesting. 2020 numbers were inflated because mail-in ballots were standard in many states. Voter suppression was at an all-time low. After 2016, there were efforts to decrease voter suppression. Yeah, we were talking about this with Rusty the other night. It's mandatory to vote in Australia as well. It's not in Canada. And voting turnout is usually pretty low here. Good times. Good times.
Yeah, my mom's always like, too many people died for you to not vote. I'm like, okay, here I go.
Yeah, think of our suffragette sisters. Yeah, I agree with Existential Gamer. I wasn't expecting it. I was crossing my fingers, but I wasn't going to let myself hope or expect, unfortunately.
I think it's in these election results where, again, even the average woman is suddenly more aware of her surroundings. In this case, it's lots of women being like, oh no, all the men around me and even a bunch of the women around me feel this way about certain things and I had no idea. And I think it kind of breaks what my dad calls the thin veneer of civility that holds the whole ship together. The thin veneer of civility, there's a hole in it around elections.
Well,
And everyone's shaken up.
I would say not just around elections, but I would say more and more in daily life.
Yeah.
Like it seems, yeah, the thin veneer of civility is disappearing more and more each day, it seems. Like people seem to be really fucking unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah. And I don't know why or really how that happened. Was it the pandemic when people were like just super isolated and consuming way too much media and like their algorithms are getting all fucked up? Like, was that the tipping point of people just becoming crazy and like not even having basic human respect for anyone else anymore? I don't really
I
know.
mean, maybe the pandemic sped it up, but I think inevitably when you have this super connected online culture, no matter how crazy your ideas are, you're bound to find at least one other person who thinks the same way.
Right.
More and the more your opinions are validated, the more likely you are to be loud about it. And
Mm-hmm.
the more loud you are about, the more publicity it gets, and then you can change other people's minds to also be your crazy opinion. So it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of snowballs, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed completely. And also there's the factor that the more you do find a person who might agree with you, the more the algorithms are going to find you more of those kinds of people. And then yeah, it just snowballs into mess.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Existential Gamer says, I don't think algorithms convert people. I think those people already thought these things. The algorithm just emboldens them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm. Yep, it's kind of nice. Like once you know that it's not just you who thinks blah blah blah, then it's like, oh, actually, no, I am right. And if you were enlightened like I am, then
Right.
you would think so too.
Yes, confirmation bias. Interesting. Everyone I work with watches TikTok 24/7. I think the very stimulating short form content is terrible. They become less educated and believe anything they see. Let's see. Joan says, I don't know. What I'm seeing in the UK gender critical crowd, I, do I hope they were always xenophobes or easily swayed by propaganda? Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've definitely seen people I respected or admired for their sort of left feminist thinking head down the alt-right pipeline. So like how did they go from one to the other so extremely if it wasn't for, I don't know, propaganda? Like I think of like Megan Murphy, for example. She was such a leftist feminist voice in Canada and for women, and she became like a very like anti-vaxxer, COVID is a scandemic, go Trump, MAGA. I'm leaving Canada because of the libs.
Yeah.
But she was like a leftist feminist powerhouse prior. So like how did that happen? If not for because she certainly didn't always think that way.
Oh, well, I know she didn't she get into a lot of arguments with or get, I guess, attacked by other feminist type people who didn't agree with her on some point. I don't know what the tipping what brought her the criticism from
Mm-hmm.
within feminism. I am aware that it's something that happened because she's mentioned it before. And then all of a sudden she's like out on the gun range with these beer drinking dudes in Texas. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, EG said, I feel like in those cases of right wing feminists, they had mad internalized misogyny they never dealt with. Hmm. And they're retweeting actual propaganda nonsense accounts, not even like moderate centrist righty journalists or whatever. Yeah, agreed.
I also think maybe a small contributing factor to these people that flip is if you're very into like your own, end zone, we'll call it, people on the opposite side, they're painted as these completely ridiculous, unhinged, top of the line, terrible people. And then if you get just regular exposure to someone who maybe has opposing political opinions as you, it might not be as apparent because they're just like, they are like normal seeming people. Like they're not the boogeymen. They're not immediately as bad as perhaps the media you're consumed would think they are. And maybe that causes you to warm up to them and think, oh no, maybe the people I've been listening to are the ones that are wrong. It's something I've thought of just because the artists that I work with who are also very put off by the election results, they're all living in New York. They all have pretty similar opinions to each other. And they were thinking, wait, we've been on tour for all these months performing in all these places that voted for Trump, but those people seem so normal. It would never occur to us to think that they would have so much disrespect for X, Y, and Z. I'm thinking, oh, well, that's something I never considered. It's like, I don't know, just painting the enemy. Maybe that has something to do with flipping later on down the line.
Yeah.
But kind of just, I think people aren't as aware of the banality of all this everyday interactions. I might not be making much sense, but
no, I hear you.
It's like, yeah, they're just regular everyday people, and however, it's that shapes culture. Like I work with these dude bros every single day all over the country. I was in Alabama when Trump won the election, and they came in that day celebrating. It's like, will they come up to me and say all these mean things to me and insult me? Probably not. But if you look at the policies they're for, and I always say, men in particular will get away with exactly as much as they think they can.
Right.
Once you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, and then all of a sudden, you live in a completely different world. And that's kind of the danger of it, just how normal it can seem, and how quickly it can kind of take over.
E.G. wrote, the other thing about right-wing beliefs is they are so easy. You have easy enemies. You get to think of yourself as a special exception. It requires no analysis of class structures. True, and often, like, not only is there no analysis, there's like voting and stuff against your own interests.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah, especially for women. I know for conservative women, they're so focused on the family and motherhood and what you need in place to make that work, and how your status is actually natural in this equation. I think it would be easy for someone in that position to just believe all that and then defend it with all their might. Because again, they think they need all these things in place for them to survive.
Happened to my sister, from a feminist to a conservative red pillar. It started by watching a bit of a Republican about not transing kids, which she agreed with, and she kept consuming more content slowly. Ooh, I'm sorry that happened, Sharon.
That's usually the gateway, but then I step back and think, oh wait, you jump sides because you realize that this man also thinks that men are not women? Like, is that such a seems like a very commonly held belief. I can pick out, I think most people in the world are aware that men are not women.
Right.
Yeah. It somehow is always the gateway. So if I agree with men on anything, it is that men are not women.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's our common ground.
Yep. Glad we could see eye to eye on this very prominent issue. It's like, I also believe that it is hot in the summer and cold in the winter.
Whoa. This is good. I don't understand how not wanting to trans kids means you have to adopt everything else. There is a leftist critique of trans. Yeah, it's something that we talk about every freaking day on this channel. You can be a leftist and, you know, liberal and think that it's not okay to treat to trans children. I mean, ideally you should think those things. God, it's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah, and while I didn't follow the extent of the campaign closely at all, I did hear that when it came to the trans stuff, Kamala kind of defaulted to avoiding it, just avoiding talking about it.
Oh, really? I didn't know any of that at all.
Yeah, at least that's what I've heard. So,
Yeah.
as predicted, the trans thing will topple itself just by its sheer ridiculousness.
I hope so, but I do think also if liberal political representatives don't start talking about some of this stuff, it's never gonna go in their favor. Like, people are really, really sick of like the woke elites.
Yeah.
And that's why so many conservative representatives all over the West are winning, whether it be as high as president or just as low as your freaking city councilor. Because the liberals continue to push craziness that normal people know is insane.
Yep. And just this hyper focus on identities and all that, which I do have my fair criticism of. It doesn't make me conservative. I think it just makes me a sensible individual.
Right, exactly. Yes. I think the same. I'm not a conservative in any way, but I have concerns about this shit, as any normal person pretty much does. Oh my God, people are calling trans cultural Marxism. Lord. I guess it's how people get radicalized. They get introduced to the propaganda by a small video of one point they agree with, and then the brainwashing starts. Oof.
Oh yeah, the becoming religious thing. I still haven't listened to the full stream about Gen Z men becoming.
Oh yeah, being more religious.
Yeah, but it's definitely an interesting topic.
I think when the left embraced censorship and canceling like old school Bible thumpers, they lost a lot of credibility. I agree.
Yeah.
Big time.
And which is why I also tried to explain to my mother. It's like, look, this is way bigger than Kamala. This has been a long time coming. Like, you keep poking the beehive, which is this very foundational white evangelical Christian male core of the United States, and this was going to happen.
Yeah. I wonder, how do people believe that your true self is something you can buy, plastic surgery, hormones, etc.? And then she also said, it's so evil, the concept of purchasing a new body or sex, as far as like trans stuff. Yeah. Yeah, the separation of like who you are and your body, like when it comes to the trans stuff, is so crazy. Like, we'll say you just live in a male body, but you're not really a male. It's like, you are your body. Your body is you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And usually the emphasis is based on kind of accepting what you were born with and living your best life. But now it's actually, you could change. You could do this whole other thing.
Yeah, like your normal human body is just something like customizable, like the fucking Sims.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you don't like that? Just take it off. It's fine. You didn't need that. It's like, actually, this is all very interconnected.
Yeah, it's really upsetting, honestly.
We're quite a delicate system, as is all of nature.
Yeah, this is a good point. I even see this in non-trans circles, like living in an X body, right? Like people will say like living in a disabled body, living in a fat body, living in a whatever. And it's like you don't live in, like it's you. It's so weird.
It always kind of seems like the topic is explored in various sci-fi stories that
Mm.
involve cybernetics and like the holodeck in Star Trek or escaping reality basically, but it's now entered public policy somehow.
Mhm.
And you're like, wait a second, I've seen this before, and it was a cautionary tale.
Trans cult is the antithesis to body positivity completely.
But it does generate a lot of money.
Well, there you go. That's right. And for life,
Mm-hmm.
multi-millions of dollars per person.
Lifelong medical patient because you
Exactly.
need to be your true self.
Right. Right.
Like, hello, Twilight Zone.
Oh, thanks, Lee. Like Spike. um, yeah. What do you have on the rest of the day?
Well, no show today, so I'm trying to figure out the rest of this show's week. It was my birthday recently, so maybe
Yeah.
I'll buy a cupcake somewhere at some point.
Hell yeah. What area of the country are you in?
I'm on the East Coast,
Ooh.
my my time zone of choice, my weather of choice.
Your weather just is it like autumnal?
I know it's like, leaves are on the ground. We're in the high 50s, low 60s.
I have to convert that. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
American units.
Yeah, guy. You gotta learn how to speak American, Radical.
Oh, actually, yeah, that seems nice. That's like perfect temperature for me too. Yeah.
I'm a big sweater person.
Yes, sweater weather.
Yeah, I'm looking at jobs for next year since I'm a freelancer, which is always exciting. It's kind of like I call this college application season just
Oh,
because,
cute.
especially in the theater world, only so many tours go out per year and everyone's applying to the same stuff. So it's like, ooh, what did you apply for? Have you heard back? Blah, blah, blah. It's always fun. Thank you, Tapeworm.
Tapeworm, isn't that such a great name?
Oh, I'm
So
a
fun.
grand old 31 now. Can't believe I got
Whoa,
this far.
good for you.
I had no plans past 25, so I'm just improving, and improving has gone well.
Good. Yeah, well, I think um most of us are. Like I'm 36 and I'm always still like who let me do this? Like I have like bills and a mortgage and I'm just allowed to like buy whatever I want and like somebody is got to be stopping this at some point, right? Like
Exactly.
yeah, I don't feel like an adult. Like I was talking to another friend of mine recently about this and how she's like 2 years older than me, I think, and talking about how like when my mom was 36, she had a 13-year-old child. And I think about
Ah!
myself as having a 13-year-old child right now, and I'd be like, who would ever allow
Yes,
me
that's
to
just
raise a teenager? What?
exactly the concept of me. Like same thing. My mom had her first kid at 25. I'm like, at like what? Is that legal?
Right. It's so crazy. Like, I am not old enough to have a child. I am not old enough or responsible enough to be a parent. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I am closer to 40 than I am 30 now. Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, 25 is definitely too young to get married or have children. Your brain is not done cooking yet. It is crazy to me that people get married and have children before 30, frankly. But
Yeah, like but below 25 me, like I say, oh yeah, I didn't make any plans past 25. I figured once you hit 25, like that's the end of your story arc. You just kind of become the parent character on a Disney Channel show and are just vibing the rest of your life. It's like, no, there's so much you can do and change and
yes,
explore. It's actually quite exciting.
I agree. For my 40th, I should bring the pink mohawk back. Yeah, maybe.
Bring back the mohawk and start a biker gang.
Well, I don't know about that.
Biker gang. Rob Banks.
Oh, well.
Hello, FBI, if you're listening to this, I am not a threat. Thank you.
The FBI officer assigned to each of us.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're listening right now. Too funny. Yeah, I'm probably okay to wrap up shortly. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm thrilled we got to go over that essay, and I am interested to see further installments of this series.
Yeah, I have a list of feminist essays that I want to review. Let me open it right now. The tough part is a lot of like the really good ones are like 17 pages, and I'm not doing that. Like, I'm trying to find the shorter ones, like this one was, like a little 5-page one. But I really want to start, maybe if I don't do it weekly, like every other week, do a little Rad Femmes read and take in a piece of feminist writing like we did today. So, like, if anyone is listening and they have a piece of feminist writing you think would be important to get in front of lots of other eyes, I'm happy to take suggestions in the comments, in this chat, whatever. But I do have a list of ones I want to definitely go over that are short enough for a stream. So yeah, there'll be more of this to come.
Yeah, I did find this one. It was short, easy to digest. I know what intimidates me a lot about academia in general, and of course.
Oh, did we lose you? Expired milk? Okay. Your mic is cutting out.
Hello.
Hi. You said what intimidates you about
I'm back from. Yeah, it's like sometimes when it comes to classic feminist literature, I get intimidating by the fact that it's considered a high academia. I'm like, am I going to be too dumb to understand this? Is she gonna all these words? And I'll be like, capitalism. I don't know. But this was a great.
Yeah, no, I have the ones I've picked on my list are like really easily digestible. So I think it'll be a nice series. And yeah, so keep your eye out for that. Today's Monday. I don't know that I'll get another stream in this week. I might try for Wednesday, maybe, or Friday. Not sure. Yeah, anyway, thanks for joining me, Expired Milk.
Yeah. If you guys want more separatist adjacent sometimes content, I have a Substack.
Oh yeah. Do you want to type it in the chat or?
Yeah, let me.
And then or just tell me what it is, and I could type it.
You think I would have it memorized by now, but I don't. Let me go. Galactic Turtle is the name. Let me click on this.
Oh, Lee, can we bring back Turf Tuesdays next week? Like, as in Tuesday being the day that we stream? Is that what you mean? Because I kind of do like the Tuesday. I do like Tuesday streaming. I just happened to have the day off today, so I thought I would do a daytime stream so that some of our European sisters could join us, because otherwise it's always in the evening. But Tuesday does kind of feel like a nice sweet spot day for streaming. So we'll see. But probably, yeah. It also depends on where I am physically because I'm all over the city all the time.
I sent it to you. It wouldn't let me post in the thing. So.
Send it to me on Discord then and I'll post it.
Oh yeah, I posted in the private chat tab of the stream.
Oh, do you want me to link it in the regular chat?
Yeah, it's fine. Or the description, whatever works.
Yeah, I'll put both. Cool. You can find Expired Milk and her wonderful writing at her Substack. I have read a lot of it. I really enjoy all of it. So please find her Substack. Lee just likes the phrase Turf Tuesday. Okay, perfect. We'll keep it. We'll keep it. Yes, so find Expired Milk there. In the description box, I will also include the link to her Substack as well as the link to the essay we just read today. Keep an eye out for streams later in the week. I'll see y'all next time. I don't know. I think that's that. I'm going to go and walk the dog I'm looking after right now and enjoy the chilly weather.
Woot woot.
Thank you all for being here, for joining us. I always love to see all the familiar, wonderful, intelligent, great women in the chat. If you don't mind giving us a little thumbs up, that would be nice. A little comment when this is over. Okay. Have a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever it is you are, and we will all speak soon.
Make good choices.
Make good choices. Thank you. Bye.